Now, when we started out, we had one goal, and that was to bridge the generational wealth gap through real estate. And that's caused us to have to change the face of real estate from a sales role to an advisor role. So we focus on relationships and not transactions. In order to do that, we offer both brokerage and planning services. That way we can transform the communities that we live, work, and play in, one relationship at a time. All right, guys. All right. Let me see if I can get a bit of a watch party going real quick. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is Jason Hyman, owner of Real Links, Officer Jason T. Hyman, and we got a pretty good topic here for you guys tonight. Let me take this down off of my guest so y'all can see who we're talking to here. So we're talking about walkable places, guys. Houston is growing by leaps and bounds. I did a quick Google search before we hopped on, just to kind of see about Houston. And I think it's 2018. We have 92,000 people moved here in Houston. That's almost 2,000 a week. Okay. So this city is growing leaps and bounds. So we're having to do some things to change the way we live, and the way we build, the way we develop. And so some of the people at the forefront of that are on this discussion tonight about walkable places. And we're going to get into what that is. But I thought this was really important for everybody to understand what's going on, because it's these rules, it's these things that we often don't get to hear about. They get passed by city council, they get put into place, and then folks kind of start using these rules to their advantage before we even understand what they are. And so I have three guests today to help us understand what exactly walkable places is, how it affects us, and maybe some ways we can start to take advantage of this ordinance here in Houston. So real quick, I want to make some introductions. We have one of the new top planning firms here in the city on the line, Miss Erica Bailey and Carlos Espinoza Sanchez from CGS Bailey Planning. Erica, I didn't know that you had a background in architecture. That's new for me. Okay, I like that. I didn't know that. I got to call you out on some things there. But PV grad, been working with planning and development department for some time now, and is here not on the city side, but on the private side today.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?
And then we got Carlos here as well. Another, not PV, but UT. So we're still in state in Texas, the other college here. All right, Carlos. All right.
Texas
All right.
A&M, not UT. Texas A&M.
All right, Carlos. But to that point, Carlos, you from UT, but spent a lot of time land planning and time in the city of Houston, actually directly involved with this walkable places initiative, right? Carlos, what was that?
Can you say that again?
I said you've been working with the city for some time, directly involved with some of this walkable places ordinance, this initiative, right?
Yes. So, fun fact: Mushan Fang used to be my boss at the City of Houston Planning Department, and I was one of the lead planners for the Near North Side Walkable Places District, which now exists on Hogan Street. So it was a great experience to be firsthand as part of the application process, which went from the public engagement through planning commission, and then after I left, it went through city council and it actually became law now here in the city. And we're gonna find out more about it later today as we continue this conversation.
And okay, I hope so. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about like really how you guys are seeing this being put into use, as you all are out in the field, because everybody's calling you guys to figure out the rules, the planning around a lot of this stuff. So I'm anxious to hear about that. And then last but not least, we have Mushang Fang, who is at the city. So she's here more so as our subject matter expert to really key in on specifically what the rules are, right? Carlos, Erica, myself, we're trying to figure out how to leverage these rules, right? You're here more as a neutral party to say this is the rule and this is how we need to go about it. So I appreciate you being here, Mushang. I've never had the chance of meeting you, so if you can give us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lucian Fang with City of Houston Planning and Development Department. I hear some echo. Maybe someone mute themselves. Yeah,
Sure.
Okay, I think now it's better. Okay, thank you. So I have been with Planning Department for almost 13 years. A few days later, October 25th would be my 13 years anniversary with the Planning Department. I really moved from university to Houston directly in 2007, and in the past 13 years, I really witnessed the change of the city. Houston is one of the most diversified cities in the United States, and we see all the growth. At the same time, we see the pain, experience the pain, like the traffic congestion. So that is kind of background for the walkable places and transit-oriented development project. Because the planning commission chair, the planning director, we see the change and we see the city's need to encourage multimodal transportation, because as we all know, Houston is a auto-centric city. Basically, most people here rely on their individual automobiles to travel, to buy their food, to visit their friends, or even kind of get something very quick from a convenience store 2 blocks away. We still drive. So we think something needs to be changed. So that's the background for why the chair initiate this walkable places project in late 2016. And the chair initiate the walkable places committee and have the committee start a constructive discussion how to guide the city, kind of plan and develop toward a more walkable city since January 2017.
Mushang, let me just for 1 second stop for 1 second and just let me ask you. So you kind of jumped right into one of my questions, which was how this came about, right? It came about because we're growing so fast, right? We need some way to govern that. And so walkable places came about. But real specifically, can you tell us what exactly we're hearing walkable places, but what exactly is that? Is that a philosophy? Is that something I can go look up somewhere? What exactly is this?
That is a great question. So the walkable places and the TOD ordinance actually the ordinance create a regulatory tool to guide development on private property. So what we mean is we know to promote walkability, lots of things need to be done, right? Like the public facility, public transportation, etc. But from planning department standpoint, within our department purview, there's only that much we could do. That is, we create these different rules. On one hand, create incentive to encourage the developer, the owners to develop certain style of development. But on the other hand, yeah.
So now you're talking my language, right? You said incentivize the developer, incentivize these folks to build the right way, right? To build a more walkable way. And
that's only if I could. It's twofold. Okay. Yeah, one fold, we want to incentivize the developers to develop the right, the desirable development we want to see in the city. On the other hand, we also, by doing so, we want to benefit the public by providing the wider sidewalk, nicer pedestrian realm, attract more people to walk, reduce their dependency on the vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's there. So like you talk about it, I want to go back to that 1 second. So because I want to ask Carlos and Erica something to that when you talk about incentivize the developer, because you all as a city only able to put it out there. Okay, this is the rule. And so not to veer away from this but just so we have some distinction. You mentioned TOD for 1 second. You know, these two things, those are two separate things, correct?
Yes.
We have TOD and we have walkable places. These are two different things we're talking about here. So I just want people to understand that there's separate sets of guidance. Okay. So to that point, when you say incentivize, Carlos, Erica, either of you, if you can kind of jump in and tell me, when Mushan talks about incentivize, like what value do you see in this particular ordinance as you're talking to your clients? When she talks about incentivize, do they feel incentivized?
When we talk to our clients, Mushan pretty much put it out there, but the city created 3 districts, right? Midtown, North Side on Hogan Street, and then the third one is Emancipation, third ward area. And then they changed the rules for the train stations in the future, BRT and train stations around the city, which is the transit oriented development, or TOD, what people know about. So when people look at this, when we talk to developers and just people buying property, they know there's a huge setback requirement of 25 feet. But with these new rules, they're able to gain all that land back once they opt in with the new required rules of having wider sidewalks, trees, and other incentives, all the requirements that the city requires as incentives, so they can get those 25 feet back in a sense, and they have more land to develop. And also they have, in some areas, they have no parking requirements.
So that's the incentive right there. The incentive is I have reduced parking. The incentive is I get to build more building on my property, or maybe even my property is just worth more because it has a higher and best use, another higher and best use now because of that. So with that being said, there's certain districts, there's certain areas. Is this something that, Mushan, maybe you can answer this? Is it required for me to build in this fashion in these districts?
So the ordinance create this regulatory tool is a tool. So to allow, like we created, whoever the property owners, they think their street is a perfect fit for this walkable place, for example, then they could submit the application to designate walkable place street within their neighborhood. Once it's officially designated, all the we talk about the different type of walkable place street, but basically I don't want to get into too technical details, but if like a street the city council already designated 3 walkable place areas, and within these walkable place areas along the primary walkable place street, all the properties are required to comply with the rules if they have new development or redevelopment on their properties. But if they do not do anything, the rules will not affect them, their grandfather. So if like I already have a property along the street, I have no plan to redevelop, the rules will not affect me. But once I want to demolish my current building and build a new one, the new building will be required to comply with the walkable place rules.
So it's not and I just want to make sure I'm clear. It's not like an opt-in thing. If you're in this zone, in this area, and you're doing some new development, this is how you have to build.
So yes and no. It depends on how the walkable place is designated. For example, in Midtown, it's a big area. In Midtown, they create 2 type of walkable place street. The primary walkable place street, secondary walkable place street. Along the primary walkable place street is mandatory compliance, but along the secondary walkable place street is optional. You could choose to opt in, but you don't have to. So,
Okay.
but some walkable place like Hogan Lorraine Street, there's only one primary walkable place street designated. So in that case, all the properties along that the primary street, if they have a new development or redevelopment, then they need to comply.
So I want to Carlos, you mentioned you Erica, I think one of y'all mentioned some of the areas. And so I'm always gonna go back to our backyard. We out here in Third Ward all day. Okay. So like are any of my streets designated that we should be looking at doing something really cool and innovative with?
Yes, actually, the Emancipation Walkable Place has been designated. There are three streets qualified. They are Emancipation, Elgin, and McGowan. These are the three streets, and the map is available on our website. So please feel free to visit the web page and find out the map, and you will know more details.
So I had a map up here so folks can go to that map and look for themselves to see if their property or um, their community is designated. But Carlos, Erica, I want to throw a question out to you that I want to see how you take this. Is that so? We're in Houston and we're car centric, right? We build up some crap, right? We build way out past the suburbs, it seems like sometime, and we'll make another freeway so we can build further than that sometime. So this is trying to encourage a better quality of life, right? But we still have this car centric culture. You guys are talking to developers, investors that are kind of creating what Houston is. And so where I'm going is, how do you see this really truly shaping Houston? Like, are these guys really, are people really interested in like, we know the incentives, but like how are we communicating that to them, and where do you see that? Like, you guys are in this business, where do you see this going?
I mean, I would say, Erica wants to say first. As these districts, develop over time, we see it maybe in the next 50 years or less. We're going to see more improved walkability within the immediate area. Like Emancipation Park right there at the corner of Elgin and Emancipation Avenue. You're going to see more buildings coming up in there. But it'll also attract more people outside the city. People that live in Katy, the Woodlands, that may not have that special restaurant or club or library they want to visit, to come in here. So it'll be more or less like a push and pull factor where, the city, the way we see it, it's sort of competing with places like City Center, the Woodlands, Town Center, and
So
incentivizing these new places.
do you see these districts being more of like a pilot, and depending on how it goes, like really truly, Houston, we need to start getting rid of these cars, so we're gonna start changing the development period. Do you see us kind of headed that way?
In essence, these are pilot areas. I mean, Michelle can jump in. These are the three first pilot areas for walkable places, and the city's testing them to see if they would work. As more development comes in, they're going to see how these new incentives will work, and developers can now apply and create new districts. But the city is testing these three pilot areas that are diverse. Hogan used to be in this walkable area 100 years ago, Emancipation as well, with different background racially and economically. And then Midtown has been transformed from being Third Ward to now being Midtown. So it's been changing over and over.
So, and Erica, unless you had something to add to that, I want to.
I was going to add just one thing, because me and Carlos were actually just talking about this earlier. It's like, I'm out here in the suburbs in the ETJ, and we have to drive to the city. So, if the incentive is reduced parking, but we're all from out here coming to the city just to, enjoy the amenities of the walkable areas and what's going on out there. We're just really wondering, what really is going to happen as far as, getting rid of the cars within the city limits and how that's going to look. So really interesting to see.
And this is a great step, I think, that the city is taking, and it's
So there's
I
definitely
applaud
some
them
other,
that they're taking this step.
there's definitely some other things that have to happen, right? The rule and people developing in this way is one thing, but other industries and other people have to buy into it as well. It affects more than just
Right.
the developer, right?
Right.
If I'm a business owner, I have to, the way that I cater to my customer because there is less parking, all those kind of things come into the play into the market
Right.
going forward.
You
And
need to
so,
provide housing so I can have somewhere to walk to, so I can walk to your
exactly.
shops and your restaurants and things like that. But it has to be affordable.
Yeah. So I got some questions, guys. I appreciate those questions. I'm gonna come back to some of these questions because they have some good ones that are coming up here. But one that I want to pivot to, you talked about Midtown, we talked about quality of life. And so you guys know I've been the president of the Greater Third Ward Super Neighborhood for probably about the past year now. And so when we hear policies and things like this, you know, a lot of us in our area, we say, well, how does this impact us especially from the terms of these third ward being a highly gentrified area? So here's this new rule that's supposed to benefit us right over the long haul, but there's always some room for misinterpretation of people to take advantage. Like, how do we, and this may be a question outside of y'all purview, but just from your personal perspective, how do we protect folks from that? How, other than educating like we do, is it just, hey, this is the rule? How was that taken into consideration when we made this rule? Like, how do we look at that?
So if I could, over the more than past 3.5 years, by creating the ordinance at the same time, we kind of create these 3 pilot areas to test the framework. And over the 3 years, we work closely with the neighborhood people, the different stakeholders in each neighborhood to talk about that, to hear their concerns. Specifically in the ward, we have multiple meetings, like big meetings, small meetings, to talk to different stakeholders, to hear their input. And we got pretty positive feedback. You mentioned about gentrification. That was one of the concerns. However, really this tool, we are not going to, the intent is not to create gentrification, but instead to create more opportunity to accommodate different type of housing. Because, the land is expensive. With this tool, we allow more buildable area that indirectly create more development flexibility. And then in return will help the developer to come up with different type of products to meet the different market. So I think, of course, this tool itself could not address everything. However, maybe in the future, in combination of other programs, planning department is working hard on, eventually it will help the city address these
So,
multiple issues.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So if that's the case, Mushan, that's good. So there was a deep level of community engagement to even get to this point, right?
Yes.
So now it's really up to everybody out there to educate themselves, so that they can protect themselves, right? And so that they or take advantage of it. But that requires us to spread this message. So Carlos, Erica, you guys are on the side of the table with me now, right? We on the private side of things. So how do we work together, and how do we work with other partners in this industry to get this out more? Because from us as a private perspective, like, the more people that know, the better it is for both sides, right? What would you guys, are y'all doing anything to help spread this word, or what is your input to that point?
I would say the first thing is doing meetings like this. That was always something that we talked about, even when we worked at the city, was how can we have more meetings like this, educating the public. So I appreciate you, Jason, for even taking the time to use your time and to educate people. So, like I said, this is the first thing I would say is just having conversations, sharing information. Carlos is the social media guru. So anything that he can put on social media, just sharing things, all the links that the city provides, because everything is public. That would be, well, that's one of the things I know we are doing for sure. Anybody that we contact, all of our clients, we just share the rules, especially when we do know that they're developing something in certain areas. We always say, well, have you considered this? And that's been a big part of our business and something that's very important to us. I know is doing good development. So if we know somebody has a property in Third Ward on a certain street, would you consider this rule, or would you consider doing this type of development and design versus the standard stuff that's not necessarily the best? So that's definitely what we do.
It's being intentional then, really.
Yeah.
Being intentional with it, really. Do you guys, I asked this before, so I hate to repeat myself, but like, do y'all find that there's pushback when you say, hey, what about this? What about this other option? Do you find that there's pushback? Are y'all seeing a lot of pushback to that?
I would say no. No, we've not had any pushback, and I would say it's because of our background and what we do know, and just being able to present another option. I know I've heard a lot, and Carlos, you can amen it, but a lot of what I've heard from developers is we just didn't know, or the city didn't tell us. The planners, we just didn't know. We don't know the ordinance, we don't know the rules. So just the fact that we have that knowledge and can give them another perspective and just another design option, they've been really receptive to the changes and just the new information.
So we got to get the Walkable Places campaign coalition going on. Get the word out, because
I think there's a good start. I mean, just like Erica was saying, we're thankful that you started with this idea to spread the information, and I'm happy that Mushen had the opportunity to be here with us, and that Director Margaret was able to make that connection as well. So I think being able to at least go to do more public meetings, maybe not with the city or with the city but being able to talk to the property owners in Midtown and the North Side, Emancipation Avenue, so we can provide more information after the city has.
We need to get the city more involved. We need to get the management districts involved. We need to get the community organizations involved. We need to get the membership organizations, the realtor organizations involved. This needs to be adopted on some level across the board. Now,
for the pilot area, for example, in Third Ward, the terrace management district, the different type of community organizations, super neighborhood, they were all involved. In the Walkable Places Committee, we have a member from the Houston Real Estate Association. We have a member from the Builders Association. We have members from Neighborhood Alliance. So, like, the committee itself is composed of members from different perspectives. And during the outreach process for the 3 pilot areas, we have reached out all the stakeholders we could think of important, and we already done that. So that's why we feel we have achieved a big success.
So no, I definitely understand. I remember the process very, very much so. But I mean, and Carlos, Erica, I'm not to speak for you, but like, I mean, Mushan, from a private side, like, you guys, the city's very different from being on the private side, right? You guys set the rule, and then y'all can kind of sit back, right? We have to actually go out and apply it, teach people, educate folks about it. And so a lot of those organizations were involved in the beginning, but now we need to kind of pivot and start talking to them about implementation. How do we implement this so that it goes smoothly? Because if everybody isn't on the same page, the community, the developers, the private sector that's doing the work, we just create headaches for ourselves on some level. And so before I let you guys go, I want to hit some of these questions here that some of them have been asked, but some of them I want to circle back to, because I think that's part of the process, as Erica said, and just educating. So I've shared the link, so you guys can go look at the link about different streets and areas. But someone talked about parking. And so I want to just go back to parking for 1 second. Somebody says, does this mean less parking?
I'm not gonna say anything because I'm about to go. Jason, thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Okay, we'll catch you next time, Erica.
All right, I put all our contact information. Shameless plug. Bye, y'all.
All right, I got you.
So if I could, the parking reduction, it depends. Hold on a second, okay? I got some interruption by my kid. Okay, so really depends on the type of street. Along the TOD street, yes, you will have, like, if your property is located along the TOD street, along the primary TOD street, which is really very close to the transit station, is market-based parking. That means the developer would decide how many parking spaces they need. There's no minimum requirement. If your property is located along the secondary TOD street, the development will get a 50% parking reduction automatically. If your property is located along the WP street, it really depends. It depends on when the walkable places area, when it's designated, whether the special parking rule created at that time. So, for example, the 3-pound area for Hogan and Lorraine Street, when we designate the walkable place, no special parking have been created. So that means for the new development, redevelopment within these 2 walkable place pilot areas, they will not automatically got parking reduction.
But I want to be clear though. I want to be totally transparent. Yes, it's not, may not be automatic. There may be some things there, but beyond shot, this was made. His intention was to encourage more walkable places. So as a byproduct, that does mean less parking on some level.
It really depends. The committee has an intensive discussion on this because
I'm sorry. I'm speaking from a development standpoint, right? When Carlos, you mentioned, you said incentivize. And one of the ways to incentivize, I can build more building. So
right.
9 times 10, Carlos, what's your client gonna say?
Gonna say, heck yeah.
Right.
More building, more money.
Right.
And especially with these pilot areas, it's the best thing.
And so
for some people that could happen.
And so I get what you're saying, Mushan. I don't mean to cut you there, but I just want people to know that, like, this is what's real. This is a possibility, and be aware about what's going on. Be definitely aware about what's going on. Educate yourself. The information is out here for us, so you can reach out to Houston Planning Committee. The link is here down at the bottom. Mushan, is it okay to share your email? Can people reach out to you if they have questions?
I would suggest maybe if they have questions, send the email to Walkable Places email. Then it will not be just myself to check the email, because every day I have more than 100 emails. I don't want to kind of skip the email and do not respond. But if you send the email to Walkable Places at HoustonTX.gov, let me type it at chat. And then myself and my co-workers will be able to see it and reply accordingly.
So there's walkable places at HoustonTX.gov for you guys. All right. And then Carlos, you guys are right now real heavy. I'm pretty sure with Houston, as hot as it is, with a lot of replatting. I'm pretty sure. A lot of replatting, subdividing, and things like that. But you are definitely a subject matter expert on walkable places, and you guys can handle a lot of those different questions and concerns as well from a private side, for folks that are developers, real estate agents, and things like that. you can tell us how can folks get in touch with you guys?
We put our email right here. It's info@cgsbailey.com, or they can call us at 713-965-7385. That's 713-965-7385. También hablamos español para la gente que ocupa en español. Those speak Spanish, if people want to do in Spanish, we're open. We don't want to call ourselves experts, but we do have the connections to be able to connect you to people like Mushan, who is the expert, I would call it, of walkable places here in the city of Houston, and other people that we can get the information from. So if they want to call us and start your project, let's get on it and let's make Houston a better place to be.
Absolutely. I just want people to know who to call. Right, there's a lot of people in Houston, but I want folks, at least folks that follow me and folks that trust my opinion, I want them to know who to call. Right, I don't call a lot of people. I don't mess with a lot of people. So I look at you guys as a go-to. Okay, and I think people should know that it makes a big difference going to someone who is intricately involved versus someone who's reading about it. Okay.
And we believe that, this is a big game changer for Houston.
Absolutely.
When they started doing this, I was pretty impressed that the city wants to push for walkability, where, like you've been saying since the beginning, it's known for being a car city. So this is going to attract more Houstonians, more economic development, and more diversity to the city as we keep going to the future.
Absolutely. Well, good guys. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to even have this conversation. I know there's a lot we can get deeper into. Mushan, you sound like you have a wealth of information to give out on this. I wish we had more time to get into it, but I like to try to keep this to about 30 minutes or so. If folks really want to dig deeper in, you all know I'm here for you. Not just an agent HDX, you guys can hit me, any of my agents. We can connect you with Carlos, Erica. We can connect you with Mushan. Any of the information that you need, we can. And then I'm going to say, if you guys are looking to move into the Third Ward area, you want to learn more about Third Ward, please go out and follow at Live, Work, Play Third Ward, LWP Third Ward on Instagram. And, we want you here. We want folks here. We have different things like these walkable places and ordinances. We have a beautiful park, a beautiful community and culture that we want to really show the world and show people. So, Mushan, I appreciate all your work past couple of years on these walkable places. Carlos, we got to hook up and we have to do some work together, man. I appreciate your time, and we'll catch up later. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, when we started out, we had one goal, and that was to bridge the generational wealth gap through real estate. And that's caused us to have to change the face of real estate, from a sales role to an advisor role. So we focus on relationships and not transactions. In order to do that, we offer both brokerage and planning services. That way we can transform the communities that we live, work, and play in, one relationship at a time.